the land of the YouTubes. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. It is Sunday evening, and you know what? I just decided I haven't gone live on YouTube in quite a while. I've got some updates to mention to you guys, and if you haven't seen some of my most recent videos, I do apologize though for that. In regards to, I haven't been putting out near as much content as I used to, but it's due to health and whatever else. And I haven't had much to also film lately either. I could have potentially filmed more on the Capri and whatever else, but there's only so much you can do when it comes to, hey, you know what, just simple stuff of like, could I have shown like deleting all of the emissions off of it, and or at least majority of them and stuff like that. I may have been able to do that, or show, you know, me fixing the electrical on it with fixing the taillights, which I figured I knew what the issue was because they were going on and off with the reverse lights, and turns out, yeah, it was just a loose wire. I just had to put it in the right position, and hey, look at that, it works. So that was a pretty easy fix. I did find out that unfortunately, the taillight swap that I was trying to do doesn't work out as well due to the fact that just what I had to do to be able to make it work. Now, it is possible though that I can still make this work with a lot more work involved. So, you know, because I wanted to basically, all three cars were going to swap or taillights, no order of a line. I was going to have the 86 taillights go into the Capri taillights go into my 81, and then the 81 taillights into the 86. Kind of convoluted, but I'm not a big fan of the 86 taillights. Like, don't get me wrong. Usually, I like a nice amber turn signal on a car. I actually prefer it, but to be honest, on that, I just don't like the style of the light entirely. Right? And that's fine. I love my 81 taillights. They're one of my favorites. And then the Capri taillights are my favorite taillight of the 80s. Right? I think they were the best looking taillight of the 80s. And look, the early Capri, even the later Capris too, the 83 to 86 with the tiny slit of a taillight, but it still has that cool sort of presence and whatever else. And you can actually, like, it's possible that I might still do something like that in the future when it comes to my car. We shall see. Just, I may have figured out a way potentially of how to put them, swap taillights around a little bit. And it might happen that that I might still swap to an 83 to 86 rear bumper cover and taillight on my 81. Because that was an idea that I had. And I've never heard of anybody else doing that. So, you know, it was one of those things where it would have been a really unique thing and something that I've kind of pondered about. But I wouldn't have the sequentials in it anymore. The sequentials would get moved to another car if I did that, so I'd have to do a little bit of rewiring, but it's not too bad in that regard. So, I don't know, we'll see what happens. You know, I'm definitely looking forward to what's sort of to come and everything, because as well with the whole T5 swap that didn't seem like it was going to happen, like, or at least happen this soon, but I should have all of the parts in my hands, other than a clutch cable, and I don't know if this clutch is any good or not, but we'll see for sure on Wednesday, so stay tuned for that. I'm very, very excited, and to be honest, to be able to bang gears in my 81 Mustang and to show y'all that, hey, I can drive stick and drive it actually very well. You know, plus it's fun, right? And then the drive and everything, and I'm looking into potentially delivering the Capri up to Edmonton this week too, so I might make a video out of that, road tripping it, and seeing if it'll even make it, because I don't know for sure. Like, I think it's a good car, I don't think it's gonna go wrong, but you never know until you properly put your cars on the road and actually drive them a far distance. Because usually when a car sits, and sits as long as that one has, because I don't believe the guy when he said this has only been sitting for 4.5 years. That may have been what he was told, but I truthfully think, like, I don't know if he lied or not. Like, I could be wrong, but it feels like the car has been sitting for over 10. It's just, I don't know, it's just giving me that vibe. It's just the way it was running, and honestly, the condition of everything, whatever else. Even though actually the condition of that vehicle is actually pretty good overall. The rust is a little bit of an issue, but it's nothing structural, and it's actually in very good shape. And it runs good, and it drives pretty good. I mean, it doesn't run 100%, but the longer you drive it, the better it's going to be. Because I know on my car, like my 81 Mustang, I had to put so many tanks of gasoline through it before it finally got to be running good. And then the choke wire melted, and then it ran like crap for a while, and then all of a sudden it cleared its throat, and it started running good again, and then I swapped the carburetor, and it ran a little not great afterwards. Then we swapped the carburetor again, and it runs good again. It's so funny the rigmarole with that car that way. I've had, yeah, 3 different carburetors on it. I've had 3 different exhausts if you include the stock exhaust. And you know, I've done quite a bit of stuff of rearranging. You know, I've had 2 different interiors in the car, and yeah, it's one of those fascinating things that way, that, you know, of how your project will change, right? And when I first bought the car, I didn't know what I was going to do with it. Like, was I going to keep the inline 6? Was I going to swap it for something else and be weird and do like a Dodge 318 swap or whatever, or whatever, right? I didn't really have the knowledge, or like in the know-how to do a swap like that, to be honest, because I looked into it, whatever else, and like there was nobody that ever did that, excluding there's a guy with a 5.7 Hemi swap Fox body, but I was looking for like a 318 Magnum or 318 LA block to put in it that way, right? So, and from what I researched, there was nobody that ever did it, so what you'd be doing is 100% custom. And whether or not you could pull it off with a stock K member, or would I have to, you know, swap to a V8 K member, or whatever, because, yeah, it is one of those deals where I just didn't know. And I still honestly don't know that to this point, but then I cemented myself in, I'm going to keep this inline 6, I'm going to build it out, and I'm just going to have a really good time with a unique build, right? Because that was the whole idea with buying that car. Is when I was buying my first car, I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I want in a car? Why did that vibrate on me? That's weird. But, like, do I want to, do, like, so my criteria for buying my first car was, okay, A, it needs to fit out front of my house, which at the time I did not. Why did it shut off? I don't get this thing. It's been acting up lately, and I'm not really a fan of it doing that. Like, I might need to upgrade to a Fitbit, but I don't really have the money for that. Fitbits are expensive, so yeah. But anyways, so besides the point. So, like, okay, yeah, so my criteria, and bear in mind, I did not have as much frontal storage at my house when I bought my 81 Mustang as I do now. If you go far enough back on my channel, you can go to some of my first videos, and you'll see I had a totally different front configuration of my house. There was a little garden out front of the house that we have since deleted. And, like, when I say that, I mean, we got rid of it entirely, you know, there's nothing left of it. And the hitch was still there in the house, so we chopped it off, and yeah, because it's never getting moved. So, you know, yeah, it'd be, like, you wouldn't even be able to move this place anyways, even if you wanted to, because you'd have to, honestly, to even get it out, there's some sheds that you'd have to uproot the sheds, move them over so that you can maybe fit the house in between the fence and the building over there. It'd be a tight fit if you could, right? But again, we're not moving the house, so it's not worth it. Um, yeah, even though houses get moved through here all the time, it's kind of interesting that way and how they do that. But so yeah, so I didn't really have that much room, so I needed something that would fit out front of my house. I wanted something that was decent on fuel. Like, it didn't need to be amazing, but, decent on fuel. And I wanted it to be unique, right? In some way or another. And, it's interesting because for a little bit, like, I was looking for that, but then stuff went out the window at times when I found some other vehicles for sale. Like, 2 weeks prior to buying my car, I had looked at a... What year was it? I think it was a 1986 or 87 Dodge Ram Charger. Very rusty. Actually ran fantastic and braked good. The seat was just like in a horrible gangster lean, and I couldn't figure out how to get it out of that. But it may have just been broken in that position too. I didn't know that for sure. So I didn't. In the end, I could have got this thing for actually a really good price, and I could have made money just flipping it, to be honest, because it was $800. Like, and it had these brand new tires on it, these all terrain, just badass tires. Can't even remember what brand they were, but really expensive tires. And the thing is, they did rub, and rubbed pretty bad. So there was that. Like, I wasn't sure, are we going to be able to get it back? And at the time, I didn't have my license, and we met this guy at Cross Iron Mills, actually, just outside of Calgary in Balzac, Alberta. So, yeah, we just met him in the parking lot, and then took a look at it. I test drove it around the parking lot, whatever else, but I let my dad test drive it as well, and kind of him and Han, and I passed on it. Sometimes I wonder what may have happened had I bought that thing, but it didn't fit any of my criteria other than the unique aspect, and I love Ram Chargers. And you don't really see Ram Chargers. So, but how different my YouTube channel would have been, but I don't think I would have been able to be as grown as quickly as I have without my Fox bodies, to be honest. So, Fox bodies are just super popular. Ram Chargers, not so much, right? So then, fast forward a couple of weeks, and I'm looking. I find it's kind of interesting. I find a '79 Mercury Cougar for sale. It's a 302 car. Now the Cougars at that point were a big car, like they were 17 feet long or so. So, okay, that's strike number one. 302, it might be okay on fuel. Wouldn't be amazing. There's no overdrive, so, it's going to be like maybe high teens if you're lucky, because it's probably got like a 223 rear gear in it. But it still wasn't ideal, right? And I was actually going to go look at it when I picked up Stitch. And, like, I let the woman know, just like, hey, there's actually another car they're going to be looking at along the way, and if I pick it up, I'm sorry, I won't be buying your car, but if not, I will definitely look at your car, right? And who knows? Like, what may have happened, and she said that she wouldn't have accepted my offer at the time, which I think I was only going to offer her, like, $1,000 for. She was asking $2,000, but it's a '79 Mercury Cougar, and she could not corroborate that it was a two-owner car. She didn't have the documentation or anything like that on it, so I couldn't, and I didn't know her, right, to actually believe her on that. So, and there was a few things, like, it was in really good shape overall, but it did have a little bit of issues, whatever else, and I figured it was only worth maybe $1,000-1,200. So, but I didn't end up buying that, and I bought my '81 Mustang instead, because I actually found it, I have to go back a little bit, because I bought the thing in March of 2019. If I go back to December of 2018, I saw an ad for this exact Mustang. And it went very quickly. I was like, I saw it and I kind of got my hopes up, whatever else. But I'm like, I don't really have the money at this point. I didn't really, hadn't had much saved yet. I was only at like $200. I'm like, there's no way I could buy this car. So, but before I could even try and get some money together, the ad was gone in about a day. I'm like, oh man, okay, whatever. So, fast forward to March, and I find the ad for this car. And this is the same week that I'm going to be looking at, because I think it was like a day prior to me looking at this Cougar when I already set it up and everything that I was going to go look at this Cougar. So, I text or either text or email the owner at the time of the Mustang and see if I can go see it. And then I do. We meet up in Innisfail, and that's where it came out of. And then I drug it home, right? Because and it fits all of my criteria of fuel efficient. Yeah, it has that. It's not as efficient as what I would have thought, but it's still pretty decent. So you got fuel efficiency. You've got small enough to fit out front of my house, and it's unique being an inline six notchback. And I didn't realize until afterwards of researching them, because I knew nothing about Fox bodies until I bought that car. And even then, when I first got it, I hadn't a clue. I didn't research them. I didn't do anything. I just bought the car. And then researching it, whatever else, and I come to find out that that's a 1 year only interior color, and the seats in it were very, very rare. Now, I didn't keep those seats. I ended up giving those with a parts car that I sold. And yeah, now I have the red seats from the parts car in my car. That's where those came from, because if you go back far enough on my channel to the 83 notchback parts car that I picked up and was in my driveway for a few months, it was worked out pretty good. It was nice, but yeah. So that's kind of the story of how Stitch came about. And then the thing is with the car, because I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do. I was keeping it an automatic for the longest time. I was just like, yeah, no, I'm gonna keep this an automatic. I'm not gonna swap it to a stick. And then, well, I drove a manual Fox body. And then I was hooked. I was just like, okay, I need a manual Fox body. Right? So, I go and buy the transmission, and after I buy the transmission, I'm like, okay, I need a bell housing that'll fit, and I researched it and found out which bell housing would fit. And it just took until now, because I bought that transmission in, like, April, I think? No. I think it was even earlier than that. It may have been March that I bought that. I don't know, there was snow on the ground, so... And there's usually snow around April, March, around here. So, yeah, and I drove my dad's Magnum out there, and I bought that. Plus, I bought the intake that's now on Lilo. So, at the same time as that transmission. Yeah, that's a T5. I was told it was a world-class tranny, whatever else. It was only $300. So, then when I ran the numbers on it, after the fact, I should have ran them while I was there, because I may have gotten a little better deal. I would have found out that, it's a non-world class, and it's only worth, about what I paid for it. Maybe a little more than that. So it's like, okay, that's fine, whatever. It probably just means, honestly, that the transmission is in better shape, because the engine that I was put under only had 150 horsepower. So, cool, right? Now, I haven't taken it apart or anything like that to check the internals, so... We'll stab it in the car and see if the transmission's good. Fingers crossed that it is, but you never know, right? Yeah, so and I am very excited about that, because all the parts are coming together, because on Wednesday, I should have the flywheel and clutch. I don't know if the clutch is any good or not, but we'll find out. Worst case scenario, I have to buy a clutch, so clutch is like $200, so we'll see. I prefer to use that clutch if I can. Because I don't really have money right now. Like, I should... The financial thing to do would be to wait on the swap, get a new clutch and everything, and, just make sure I have everything. Right? I ain't doing that because what fun is there in being financially responsible and that sort of thing and waiting? You know, I want a stick in that car before it snows, which I will have a stick shift in the snow, which that'll be kind of fun. You know, I will plus with now I doubt I'll be able to spin those fat tall tires no matter what I do to the car. They are just way too big, but that's okay. I didn't really buy that thing for that, you know. And I bought those wheels not intending to. I was buying an 8.8 off a guy, and he had these wheels as well. And I'm like, I was kind of him and a Han, but then I was like, you know what? Screw it, I'll buy it. I'll put them on my convertible because, you know, it's a V8 now and whatever else. And I put them on the car and realized they don't match the car at all. It doesn't look right with a rake on it, so decided, screw it. Threw them on Stitch and never looked back. Although, I should have rolled the fenders and whatever else a lot sooner. Because, yeah, those tires need to be balanced badly. Because it actually pulls pretty good to the right now because of how much it dug into the tire. Now, it's okay. Like, I won't have an issue getting those tires balanced or anything like that. They're finally balanced to the point where they're not cutting into the tire anymore. So, yay. Or, I rolled the fenders enough where they're not doing that. Sorry. I still need to get them balanced, which we'll have to see where, what I do with that. I will say, though, if you are going to be at the New Horizon car show, which is the Wild Wild West car show that they call it, at New Horizon Mall in Balzac, I will be there, actually. I'll be taking my convertible there, and it should be a good time. Hopefully weather's good and everything, because I kind of want to put the top cover on my car and drive out there with the top cover on the boot cover on the top, so yeah, it should be a good time, but we'll see. You know, other than that, like, there's not a lot. Like, the other thing that I'm going to be looking for is for, actually, because I want to swap out the transmission in my convertible, because I contemplated putting that T5 that I have in the convertible, but I don't know, it's fun as a proposition to be for a stick convertible. That's going to hold off for now. I kind of just want it as a nice cruiser, and, you know, put an AOD in it with overdrive and just enjoy the car, right? And I guess I'll race it and whatever else, but it'll give me a better comparable as well with an AOD or with the C5 that it has now in a race between the two cars, because when I'm done this T5 swap, the rear end swap, all that stuff in my 81 Mustang, I want to race the two cars, and I'll have to find somebody to race, you know, drive my other car, but that's fine. We won't rev them up, we'll just go from a dead heat and see which one is faster. Which I have a sneaking suspicion that Stitch is going to be faster than my convertible. Sneaking suspicion. And that's without doing a header. Because I'll have 373s in it, and I'll have a T5. So, plus I'll have limited slip. Even though those fat tall tires, they're not going to spin. But having it go to 2 wheels instead of 1 helps in the acceleration department. So, we shall see. We shall see what happens. Yeah, like, because it'll completely wake up the car, I know that. Going to the T5, because instead of having the C4 with its tall sort of granny gears in it, instead of having the 273 gears out back, you know, that's the one thing that, and that's a video that I do want to do, actually, is kind of explain what you can do to add performance to any 6-cylinder Mustang. And especially the inline-6 Mustangs, and this includes the first gens, right, with the inline-6. Because it's the same principle, right? Because there's 3, if not 4 things you should do. So the first thing is machine out, like, if you can afford it, machine out the intake to fit a 2-barrel or get an adapter like I did. So put a 2-barrel carb on it, right? And not super high CFM, you know. I have, I think, a 375 CFM 2-barrel, so it works. It's good. So do that. Next up. Now, this next step, it depends, like, you can go a few different routes. Rear end. Rear gear. Put in, no more highway gear. Throw in some, nice 355s, 323s, 373s, whatever. Right, but if you put 373s or 355s, bear in mind, with the stock 3 speeds and whatever else, and non-overdrive, you're gonna get less fuel economy on the highway. So do bear that in mind. But it will increase your acceleration exponentially when you do that. So it's one of these deals, right? So carburetor, gears in the rear, and something other than the stock tranny, like an overdrive tranny or a manual, like I have, like that I'm putting in mine, is another way to really get it, because the like in a T5 compared to the C4, the gears are a lot closer together, and like so there's smaller gears. That way it increases acceleration as well with that. So that's another thing you can do. And then the last thing that I suggest everybody do, which will happen to my car as well, is go put a header on it. Because what I discovered with my research into everything, I found that the stock exhaust manifolds on those honestly are very, very restrictive. And when you swap it to a proper header, sorry, I did not. Okay, that's so weird. You guys have been talking, and I have not seen your messages. I totally apologize for that. I hope that you, okay, let me just read through this stuff. Apologies. So to answer the first guy there that asked if I've swapped out transmissions on a regular basis, no, this will be my first one, but I'm getting help from a guy who has. So, am I going to be showing some old trucks? I would like to, Yeah, it's all good. Now, concerning the alignment, yeah, actually the alignment on the car is good. It's just the whatchamacallit, the wheel balance is off. But that's very simple. I can literally just get the 2 tires that are off balanced at the shop, and no big deal. It won't cost me very much money, because they don't have to mount and balance, they just have to balance, right? So shouldn't cost a lot. So yeah, that's kind of the plan there. And apologies, guys, I did not see your message, like your comments. For some reason, it hid them. So that's so odd. I don't know why I did that. So yeah, but that's one of these things, and again, technical difficulties with YouTube. I apologize, and I hope I did not lose viewers because of that. Because yeah, I'll keep it on top chat, because I tried to put it in the live chat and they disappeared. So yeah, if you have anything else to say, I will definitely answer them now in real time, hopefully. I'll just keep cycling back and forth every couple of minutes just to make sure that I see everything. Yeah, just total apologies about that. But that's one thing, like, and I would be interested in doing videos on older trucks too, so to a degree. Like, here's the thing, when you get an alignment done, because how that all works is there are, like, an alignment has a machine with lasers and stuff like that, and it tells you where to adjust the wheel to, where your camber is and everything. They give you a zone. So, there's red on each side, and then there's a zone that's green in the middle, right? And the closer you can get it to the center of that, the better. And, that's for your camber, your toe in, your toe out, and your caster, right? Of where exactly it's set. Now, that car is already properly aligned. It's just the tires right now is the problem. And so, like a tire balancer, I've used a tire balancer myself. They're very simple to do. Like, honestly, if they allowed me to, I would just do it myself. It's really easy to do. All you do is, depending on the machine, there are different types. I've used two different ones, two different styles. So, one machine is you put it on there, and then it has an electric motor that spins the tire for you and tells you where you have to put the weights or whatever. And and there are two different style of weights. There is the sort of hammer-on kind that you see on like the outer edge of the rim. They're kind of an eyesore when you see them, but that's the more surefire way of it working. Now there is the other way, which is essentially you glue on metal weights onto the wheel. Now, the problem with that is that, well, they can fall off. And I've seen it. But, yeah, okay, that's so weird that live chat is not working. So I just have to keep it on top chat, okay? I shall remember that. And those machines, like, you can pick up a tire balancer, like, brand new. They're, $1,500, $2,000 for the cheap one that you can, because sorry, I meant to say that with the two different types. Yeah, there's one with the electric motor that spins it for you. Then there's another one that you have to spin it yourself, and those are much cheaper. And you can pick up a tire balancer, like a cheap tire balancer, and even a used one for like $500 or less. So mostly used ones are that price. New ones are usually $1,500 or above. And there's ones that are very, very expensive. They can go up from there. But because I have priced them out just because I can. Yeah, so those are the two different methods, and it just depends on your style of wheel, too, of what it can accept. Because some will accept the ones that go literally on the rim of your wheel, and, stick on there. You kind of use, like, a little bit of a sort of hammer and get it on. Or more, not a hammer, sorry, I should say a mallet, like a rubber mallet, and you smack it on there. And then, yeah, the other one is, like I said, glued on weights. So, and the machine tells you where to put the weights. And what size of weight, too, because there are different sizes and different weights, obviously, so. Okay, yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. I love old, like, really old cars and trucks and everything like that. I don't have any personally. Like, there is some stuff that like, if you go back into my channel and you look at some of the junkyard tours, actually, there's a couple of old trucks and whatever in those first junkyard tours that I did. Because that's the property that I go to all the time, my buddy Greg's place. That's where I have the Capri currently stored, and where the E350 conversion van is currently stored. That's also where the if you go far enough back in the channel as well, to last summer, where I revived I've revived the Monaco out there, and I revived a 84 Vandura 3/4 ton. That was a nice van, and I really wish I kept it, but I moved it on to its next owner. So, and I don't know where it is now. I saw it for sale a few months after I sold it to them. And it's fine. Like, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. When I sell you a vehicle, it's totally fine. The only thing that I don't like is when you buy a vehicle and you do, like, really nothing to it. You don't investigate anything. You just try and flip it for money. I'm not a big fan of that, personally. Like, if you buy it at auction, it's a little different. But, like, if you're going up and shaking somebody's hand and whatever else in a car deal, just not a big fan of that sort of flipping that way. So, because I've bought cars at auction, and, like, there was a truck I bought at auction. I did nothing to it, and I sold it on. But I made sure it was all good and everything, just looking it over. And I cleaned it up. And that's the one thing, like, even if you just detail it and then move it on, right? That's really cool with me, too, if you do that. But, like, I'm not hating on flippers, right? Because I flipped stuff, too. I flipped a few things. But, it is one of those things to consider. I mean, yeah, and like having the newer cars that don't need the alignments, it is kind of nice because alignments, like an alignment machine itself, is very expensive. Um, Compared to like a wheel balancer, because an alignment machine, I couldn't even tell you. I'm gonna assume at least 10 grand, probably even more than that. I've heard of the channel, yes. I have not actually really gone onto their channel and looked at stuff. I I've been meaning to for a long time. I kind of forgot. But I do know the name of that channel. Yes, Cold War Motors. I've heard of them, but that's about as far as I've gotten with that. And I just, for some reason, I haven't gone to check out their content. But yeah, and I would love to play with the '60s and early '70s stuff and the muscle cars and whatever else. But I can't afford it. Like my budget is very very limited. So that's why I play with Fox bodies, because they're cheap. Although they're getting expensive now, and I do feel for the next generation that wants to get into these cars, because Fox bodies are slowly getting to be um, unobtainable. There are still deals to be had, but for the most part, like the really nice quality ones are going stupid in price. And for me, like as somebody who owns them, it's like, okay, cool. It increases the value of mine, but if I tried to buy, like, I know actually it was kind of funny when I bought my '81 Mustang back in 2019. Before I even got it home, I got offered $1,000 for it, even though I only paid $500 for the car. I got paid $1,000 for it, and I could have flipped it, and I wouldn't have a YouTube channel, or at least not with that car. But I could have, maybe bought and sold that, and then bought the Cougar and made something out of that. But again, it wouldn't have grown the channel. Like a '79 Mercury Cougar, not many people care about that, right? So, and I wouldn't have met Greg and been able to have the relationship I've had with them and go to the pig roast and everything. So, I'm happy where my life and my channel has gone. And yeah, like, but I love the classics the most. And, I have researched the crap out of a lot of vehicles. And that was the interesting thing, because, like, actually, my buddy Teen Mechanic, which is, Joseph, he has a YouTube channel, which actually he's put out a few videos. He put out a video of the Capri, he put a video out on the Vruck, and he just released a video today on the car show. Now, it's interesting, his viewpoint, like the car show that happened yesterday, and his viewpoint is kind of interesting. He's looking at all the boats, and he wants them, like, as big as possible, like all these big cars. So it is kind of interesting, his viewpoint. Let me just look at those two last comments. Now, how do I feel about fixing carburetor engines versus fuel-injected engines? To be honest, I don't know fuel injection that well. I kind of understand it, but there's a lot of sensors and electronics that go into it, and it's just not something really for me. I haven't learned it. But a carburetor, I can get by with rudimentary stuff and zip ties and screwdrivers to get something down the road that's a carbureted vehicle, right? Fuel injected, I don't really know much about them. Like a little bit, but not as much as carburetor, I will say that. So, now, an Aaron Rattlesnake blog asked, what's my unattainable dream car? At least at this point in my life, because my absolute favorite car ever is a 1970 Dodge Coronet Super Baby. And those are getting really expensive. It used to be that you could pick up, and to be honest, I can interchange a 1970 with a 69 or a 68. I'm totally cool with that. But that is my absolute dream car by far, and they are starting to get unattainable too. Because there was the longest time where nobody cared about the Coronet. It was Charger, it was like Dodge Charger, it was the Plymouth Roadrunner, that sort of thing, right? Those were the cars that people cared about. But then people started to realize, wait, those are starting to get unobtainable and very hard to find. Well, what do we look for now? Hey, look, Dodge Coronets. Nobody cares about those. Let's start buying those up, and then that drove up the price of them because less and less of them were on the market. So, it becomes supply and demand. And there's people that don't know what the Coronet is. That's true, the Dodge Coronet. And the Dodge Coronet started in the 50s as a sort of a luxury alternative to most of the Dodge lineup. Because, like, if you look at a Dodge Coronet, it is more of the luxury, sort of nicer trim of a Dodge Charger. It's really what it is. Like, it's, got different panels and whatever else. And similar interiors and stuff, but, like, just slightly higher quality materials and whatever else, And just the look of them is just unique, right? So I really do like those. And to be honest, for the Coronet, like 1970 Coronet, I could take any configuration. It doesn't have to be a Super B. I could take a coupe, a sedan, a wagon, a convertible, any of those. I would be all of those like a dirty shirt. 100%. So yeah, it's one of those deals that I would love to have one, but until then. I thought I saw... Okay, no, I didn't see anything else. So, yeah, and that's... And, like, am I sort of, See, and I have heard that he's big into the Mopars. So, like, and somebody like that, especially here in Alberta, it might be kind of cool to connect with them and whatever else, and maybe we can do some collaboration stuff and whatever else, because it'd be cool. Like, I like to meet new people, whatever else, and that's one of the reasons why I like going to car shows. And just having the relationship with people and whatever else, because the car show that I went to yesterday was in Cremona, and there were some cars, actually, because last year I went to that car show, and there was a ton of different cars there, and there was more cars this year, only by 3 of their record, but still. There was more cars, and it was cool. And more of a unique variety, because, like, there was a guy, and I talked with him for a good 40 minutes to an hour. He brought a GLHS Omni. Now, if you don't know what that is, a Dodge Omni was Dodge's little hatchback that they made in the 80s. It actually started in, I believe it was... What was the first year of the Omni? 1980? 1981? I think it was 1980. And if you look at an Omni, you might mistake it for a Golf. Or a Rabbit, I should say. Because they didn't really have the Golf name over here, then they had the Volkswagen Rabbit name, and they flip-flop back and forth between Rabbit and Golf, and finally, they've stuck to Golf now. So, but the Omni GLHS is the Shelby version, and this one was in 1986. This was Shelby being allowed to do whatever he wanted to this little hatchback. Now, it weighs about 2,200 pounds, okay? And it also has 185 horsepower and 185 foot-pounds of torque. So the thing just flies. They all have 5 speeds, and they weren't released here in Canada. They were an American market vehicle only. So when you see one up here, they're all imported. So it is pretty neat to see that. First time I saw one in person, because another person I know has one. I just haven't seen it yet. And that's my friend Kirby, which the funny part is, when I was talking to him, and he says, yeah, there's only, I know one other guy with one, and I just chimed in and said, let me guess, his name is Kirby, right? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I'm friends with him and everything, and we started chatting about that, whatever else, and who knows? This guy is interested in the Shelby that I'm selling, so potentially, maybe there's something there. We shall see. But, that's all the fun, right? Ooh. See, that's a tough call to say best car. It grabbed my attention as soon as I saw it, but because Ford Maverick, which was really cool, and it was mint, and it was silver on black, and just a gorgeous car, two-door. Um, and let's see, what else was there? Actually, there was a Studebaker Avanti, like a legit Studebaker Avanti, not the later ones that still use the Studebaker name, but wasn't actually Studebaker. And like there was the Avanti 2 and whatever else. This was an original 63 Avanti before Studebaker went belly up, right? And they sold the tooling off to everybody else. And there was a few different versions of it made throughout the years, and they made them right up to the 90s. But, now, okay, so modern dream car. Now, there's a couple of choices I could put in there. Because, honestly, I love a Lexus LFA. I like the look of the car, and I also really love that exhaust note. It's mostly the exhaust note that I love about that car, and just, even the looks I think are very striking, whatever else, you know, sounds like a Formula 1 car going down the road. It's really cool. But, and that's like absolutely unobtainable. They're, you know, $500,000 plus, depending on the car. So, yeah. Oh yeah, it is a very sweet sound. Now the other one, yeah, actually, because okay, here's the thing that you'll come to experience with me and watching any of my videos, whatever else. I like a lot of stuff, and my knowledge is vast on just a bunch of random stuff. Anything like, I have an old 1978 Honda Civic, right? I love the old Toyotas, like especially the Celicas and the old Corollas and everything, like the first, second, and third gen Celicas and all that stuff. One of my favorite cars, which is a little more obtainable, is like a 92 Celica GT4, or all-track if it was sold here in Canada or the States. Because we didn't get the GT4, that was in Japan only. But we had our own version, which was called the all-track. You know, it was a turbocharged 3S GTE, producing, it was about 240 horsepower, all-wheel drive, just a badass car, you know? And just a very striking car. I love the pop-up headlights that they have and everything. You know, I would own one of those in a heartbeat. Even though they are fuel-injected and whatever else. But, because I do like the idea of fuel injection, I just don't know what I'm doing with fuel injection. And that would be the trouble of me owning a modern car. Like, I wouldn't mind the experience, because there's a lot of modern cars that I like. But from a standpoint of me being able to really figure it out, I'm not sure. You know, and those are, from what I've heard, you know, not a very complicated engine, but not the easiest engine in the world either. So, and so, yeah, like, honestly, I like Honda, I like Toyota, I like Subaru, I like Mitsubishi, you know? I like a lot of brands, but it's usually specific cars within that brand, you know? Like, I like the old Lancers, too, and I like an Impreza and all that different stuff, right? But the thing is, for the most part with me, I like stuff that's a little different, stuff you don't see. So, like, one of my favorite cars, honestly, bar none, and they're not very expensive, and I could see myself owning one someday, is a Toyota Serra. You know? They are based on the Toyota Starlet, and they have, you know, the butterfly doors and everything, and they're really a neat little car. You know, it's one of my favorites. And it's much more comfortable than... Really, the only competition that it had for people liking was the AutoZam AZ1. So... Oh, they definitely do. Although, it's interesting that, like, because with Honda and Toyota, they were legendary for their reliability. Although, it seems the later on we get, like, the newer you get with the models, the less reliable they're getting, and it's quite sad. Like, I've been hearing about Toyotas blowing up after a year, and I'm like, what? You should be able to, like, throw that in the ocean and pull it out after a year, and it runs when you put some gas down a tube. But, you know, Like that's when I hear Toyota, that's what I think. But it's starting to get away from that, and it's quite sad. Um, like yeah, and I like some of the older, like Toyotas as well, with like the FJ Cruisers and the Land Cruisers and all that stuff. Big fan, big fan. Like Toyota Cruzetas as well with the 5M GE motors. I like those too. Um, you know, and even the Supras. Yeah, it is only 15 years here in Canada, which really does, because that's kind of the interesting thing. So R32 Skylines, R33s, and even R34s used to be not a terrible amount of money. But the one thing is, now, because those cars are starting to be able to be imported into the States, the money has skyrocketed on all of them, right? So I used to be able to find an R32 Skyline up here that's like a nice car for like $5,000, but this was like 10 years ago or so. But now an R32 Skyline here that's a nice two-door, not even a GTR, I'm just talking like GTS or GTST, right? I'm talking like those things, yeah, you could have picked up for like $5,000 to $10,000. It was amazing. Um, I would love to do a will it run sort of barn find thing. That would be cool. I would need the one thing is like, and that would probably be a collaboration video with somebody else because I've always wanted to do that. Just find a car in a barn or a garage that sat for so long and just get it running down the road. Like I think I could, but there's some stuff like for example with brakes, I'm not as good with like if it needs brakes and whatever else. And I also just with my health currently, it's difficult to actually do a lot of the stuff that I used to do. Because I do have to watch out a lot of the time when it comes to my heart. That's why I wear this, to check my vitals all the time. And, because I deal with fainting issues and stumbling about and, that sort of thing, right? And I, like, now constantly have headaches, and the worse the headache is, the worse I am. So, when it comes to the lightheadedness and all that stuff. And yes, I actually do follow regular car reviews. I liked his whole thing on the Toyota Serra. And I've seen a few of his other things. It's really cool. Like, I want to do more car reviews. I've only done 2. The car review that I did on the Supra, the problem was the setting that I was given to try and do that was just, I don't know, it wasn't as good, and I kind of screwed up where I was driving. I just kind of made a loop at the beginning of the video, and it really didn't work out that well with that one, because like it would have been nice to get that thing on a road where not only I could open it up, because like I did, like on the highway, I reached about, I think it was like 160 kilometers an hour. I really didn't want to go faster than that because there's cars around me and stuff like that. I do have to be mindful about that. Like I am a good driver, but I do have to consider people around me that might not be. Right? When you're doing stuff like that, you do have to be cautious about that. And I was only doing small sort of little stints of that and then slowing back down, do it again, slow it back down. But that car is like with the brand new Supras. Because I drove it was a 2021 Toyota Supra. I drove it earlier on in the year. And the thing that I noticed with it the most was, like, how raw of a car it felt. Like, underneath, yes, it's a BMW Z4. But I've never experienced a BMW Z4, right? And the thing was very firm, there's not a lot of headroom, and it's very kind of cramped inside. Like, I was surprised about that. And it was kind of disappointing. And just how uncomfortable it was, too. Because the only other car I had to compare it to that was that new and that sort of price bracket was the 2020 GT California Special that I drove. That was 2 years ago now, I believe. Yeah, it was in 2020 that I drove that car. And, that's my buddy Cody's car. Fantastic car. It runs amazing. And with a 10-speed and everything with the Coyote. It's just great. But yeah, it's one of those things. But that is more of a Grand Tourer. You can like take it around corners and everything, and it's great. But it's a Grand Tourer, 100%, and it's very fast in a straight line too with that Coyote and the 10-speed. Oh yeah, and now with that car, it's kind of interesting because it really holds you, and it's surprising because like you see so many videos of these things crashing, whatever else, and going, you have to be really stupid to crash this car because it really does a lot of the work for you, right? Now, I will say, in my experience though, because I am used to stuff that has zero nannies, no traction control, no ABS, none of that, right? And so there is that I'm used to when, it kicks out whatever, that I know what to do and stuff like that, the counter steering and the just honestly letting off the gas a little bit, right? Because most guys just stay in it, and that's the problem, right? And once they only let you kick out a little bit and then gains traction. I discovered that in the Supra. And actually I saw another comment that I kind of skipped over, and I apologize for that. Let me go back to it. Because, yeah, one guy mentioned that, yeah, because he's always wanted an R35 or a Gallardo and a new Vette or even an EV Hummer. See, now, and that's an interesting way, or at least the Hummer is the weird one in there compared to everything else. Because, like, yeah, mid-engine Corvette, sure, R35, GTR, very expensive sort of supercar. They used to be, I won't say cheap for the GTR, but they used to be a lot more attainable, because now they're like 200 grand, and they really haven't changed. That's the problem, right? And it's sad of just how much they've increased, but nothing has changed in them. Other than them getting a little bit more power, maybe a little more refined, but nothing that's like too noticeable. So, and they've had the same design going on, 15 years or so? Give or take. I mean, I don't know when the GTR came back out, but it was somewhere around there, right? Badass car, though, and, it will out 60-foot majority of the cars on the road and stuff like that. It's really amazing what they were able to do with that. Yeah, see, but that's not enough of a difference to warrant 120 grand more, right? Like, when they first came out, they were about an $80,000 car. Although it was interesting, when they first came out and here in Canada, because they were about 80 grand US, and, there were, at the time, it was about $100,000 Canadian. Now, what was interesting is, if you went to the Nissan dealership when they first came out here in Canada, they would not allow you to test drive a GTR unless you had 100 grand in the bank. And when they first came out, they were a very hot commodity, and you could flip them very easily and stuff like that, make a bunch of money just without even doing anything. And, it's just ridiculous. And now, see, not all Nissans have the CVTs. A lot of them do, yes. But any of their enthusiast cars do not. You will not find a CVT in any car with the 3.5, the QE35 or whatever it's called. That motor, which went on the Altima, I believe you can get it in the Maxima, and you could get that in the 350Z, and stuff like that. The GTR, of course, never did as well. And hey, there is Novataz down in the comments, which, speaking of which, which I definitely appreciated going out, if you guys are interested, every Saturday, I should say, at 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 9 o'clock Eastern, we actually have a live stream on his channel where I'm there most weeks. It's very rare that I'm not there. So, yeah, tune into his channel. We talk about all manner of cars and things, and it divulges into other stuff as well. So, yeah. Go out to his channel, check him out, and he's got some exciting stuff coming down the pipeline with his Holly Sniper EFI conversion on his old Pontiac Trans Am. He's getting some progress, and also he's doing some interior work on it and stuff like that too. So It's gonna be a very nice car when it's done, which I can't wait to see it when it's done. But it's a long project, long term project. But with any luck, who knows? We might see it run soonish. So fingers crossed on that. But yeah, and he's got a couple of old Novas, like fourth gen Novas as well, and some other things like that. Yeah, 68 Firebird. See, that's cool. I've actually done a video on my channel on a 68 Firebird. It was grateful, and thank you so much for the donation there, Novitaz. I really do appreciate that. Now I'm curious, what does that convert to? Because that's American going into Canadian. Because that's the one interesting thing when I do this. Because at first it starts American, but then that'll eventually, like, I can see it right there. But then it goes to Canadian, and I figure out what it is after the fact. Because it's usually more money than what you give me. It's very nice. I like the conversion that way. Like, yeah, and like 68 Firebird, very cool car. And like the one that the guy has here in town that I have filmed, it has a 455 from, I think it's a 77 Firebird, something like that. And it runs pretty good and everything. It's a beautiful car. I love the color of it. That purple, because it's not like a plum. It's similar to Plum Crazy, but it's a little lighter shade of purple, and it's just, oh, it's gorgeous. Now your dad's Firebird, what's the dealio with that? Does it have a 326 in it? Does it have a Pontiac 350, 400? Does it have the overhead cam 6? I'm curious about that. Yeah, he was able to look into some stuff with that, and I'm not sure if he's fixed it yet or not, but he still drives it, so okay, it's not stock. Fair enough. No worries. Yeah, they are, like, I like the Firebirds. I especially like the first gens, and my absolute favorite year of the Firebird is 69. Because the 69 is a 1 year only. Now, technically speaking, all of the first gen Firebirds are 1 year only cars. Like 67's the easiest way to tell without looking at anything else, a 67 Firebird compared to a 68. Because they look very similar, other than, there's a couple of little lights and whatever else change. But the biggest change, 67 has a quarter window on it that you can open, while the 68 does not. So those are really, that's the biggest change that they made. See, okay, that's cool. It has the hood tack. That's neat. And yeah, actually, funny story about, having only one mirror. That's all that was actually required. Back in, actually dating back to the 50s even, and it may have even been earlier than that, where it was mandated at one point to have the driver's side mirror, right? That's all you needed. You didn't need a passenger side mirror, just the driver's side mirror. And because a lot of cars, when you shoulder check out it, unless you're like completely blind out of it, which a lot of cars you aren't, but there's some that you are, you didn't really need the mirror on the other side. So that's the reason why, too. Now, the interesting thing about the seatbelts, actually, is even at that point, seatbelts were an option. You could have had seatbelts not actually in the car right up until, I think it's 72. So, by then, though, they finally decided, hey, let's put some safety in cars and have every single car with at least a lap belt. A lot of cars by then were starting to get the 3-point, shoulder belt harness, which actually Volvo created the 3-point seat belt in, I think it was like 1958. And they actually made the patent public, because when they patented it, they made sure it was public so that everybody can have the safety of the 3.0. So we can thank Volvo for that discovery. Because yeah, it really makes a big difference, of it being able to, when you get into a crash, it can kind of hold you in place. Where the lap bella didn't do that, your head was hitting that dashboard every time, or that steering wheel. Yeah, well, and that's the thing with me too with the older cars, because I like the modern stuff too, but they don't quite tickle my fancy like the classics. Even though I love a lot of modern cars, as I did that whole spiel earlier. But yeah, it's one of those deals where I honestly just the classics are what I love and what I know more. And because even when I was young, now because I started researching classics when I was young, because that's what you saw at the car shows, right? But for a number of years when I was younger, my favorite car has changed throughout the years, and I mean now it's a '70 Corvette, but back when I was like a teenager, my favorite car, like when I was like 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there, my favorite car was an S13 Sylvia, Nissan Sylvia. I loved those cars. I still do. I wouldn't mind owning one, but it's not like a oh my god, I really need one like I was as a kid. I was much more of a tuner chick when I was a kid. But yeah. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. And I mean, I like your dad's collection a little more than yours, but hey, you know what? Mazda 3s, they're actually a really good little car, and they're a really good looking car too. And plus, they made a really badass version called the Mazda Speed 3 back in, I think that was 2007, and they went till 2012, I think. And there is good old Team Mechanic in the comments. How's it going? If you guys haven't, go check out his channel too. He's only 16. He's got some really sweet cars, and actually, he's been putting out some videos lately, 2 of them on my cars, and he actually just put out one not too long ago. It was actually like within the past hour, or maybe a little earlier than that, of the car show that we went to. And it's interesting when you watch his point of view, because I mentioned it down in the comments, which I'm sure you saw, is because his point of view with cars is odd. And it's not bad, but it is odd. Because, he's looking at, hey, look, there's this nice muscle car or whatever else. Nah, I don't really care about that. He wants the big old boats, and that just the bigger, the better it is. And, you commented on, there was a Lincoln Town Car sedan, and you said, yeah, if it only had 4 more feet on it. That's so weird. But, that's something endearing about you, right? And, the style of video you did, you really, kind of rushed through it. I was kind of surprised that you did that. I thought you would have taken a little more time, too. But hey, that's fine, too. Oh, so do I. I like that stuff. But he's like, hey, it needs to be even bigger. I'm going, okay, they're already big enough, I think. You can already fit 8 dead bodies in the trunk and have 6 people comfortably in the car that weigh 300 pounds. I think it's okay on size. Oh, see, okay. I saw that ad. It's a 50, I think it's a 59 Caddy that has chopped roof and everything. But here's the thing with Teen Mechanic. He likes originality. He doesn't like to chop things up. He likes absolutely bone stock original, and modifications, for the most part, he couldn't care less. On a lot of stuff, anyways. So, and I found that out walking with him, because I've never been with him at a car show before. So, I was kind of schooling him on a few vehicles, and because I think that's the reason why he talked about, in the video, he talked about, there was a Studebaker Avanti there, and I'm the one that went nuts seeing it, because I went, holy crap, this is an actual Studebaker, and I started talking to him about it, whatever else, and I think that's the reason why you added it in your video. Because otherwise you wouldn't have known what to say about it, and would you have really potentially looked at it properly? I don't know if you would have. But, yeah. Which, if that's my contribution to the video, I'm cool with that. But it was fun. Honestly, hanging out with you for the day and everything, that was a good time. And I can't wait for the next one. Whenever I see that beautiful T-Bird. And I didn't do any videos or I didn't even take any pictures of the car show. None. Yeah, I figured. And, like, the one thing is, the length of the video was okay, and I guess, I don't know, it just seemed like, I really, like, just for a little bit of constructive stuff, with that car show video, because, like, the length was okay. I mean, it could have maybe been a little bit longer, but it's really not a big deal. Like, a lot of people on videos, if it's 10 minutes or more, they typically will X out of it anyways, so by then you may as well just go as long as you want. But I will say, like, because it's just how fast you were going, because, like, you were talking about a couple of vehicles, but you weren't really capturing a lot of the detail of it, you know? And that's something that I would potentially do a little bit, and, you know, like, if you know anything more on the vehicle, you know, I would try and spew out, like, as much knowledge as you can. And you did that on some. But I noticed on some of the other ones you really loved, you spent, like, 2 seconds on it, and then it was gone, right? But other than that, it was a great video. I liked it. I think you could just spend a little more time talking about the cars and whatever else. So, that's true. Like, I know I am different in that regard, where I like to hear more about the details and whatever else, instead of just seeing the car, period. You know? Because there's a lot of people that, yeah, they'll just look at the car and be like, that's cool, I don't really care what you're talking about. But I'm one of those people that like to hear the knowledge, right? Other than that, now, and you can take that, or you can ignore it. It doesn't matter, right? It is your channel, and you can do what you want with it, right? That would just be my sort of thing with it. That's fair. Like, yeah, and I mean, and that's the one thing. You're still young and everything, and there's still a lot to learn, obviously. And that's the one thing though too, is it took me a while when I did the car show videos. I've kind of just stopped because a lot of the car show videos don't really do anything. Yeah. See, and cool. I like that. Because, yeah, there was just a lot of stuff that you were just, like, brushing over and spending, like, 5 seconds on, or 10 seconds, really, and moving on. Which, I have done that in some things. Like, if it's a car that I don't know and don't really care about, I'll do that too, but... Exactly, that's true. And, you know... Hey, that's cool. I mean, that's the one thing. Like, anything you can do on an older car, and especially an older popular car, because, yeah, you said it was an 85 Cutlass. That is a car, because it's a G-body, that is something that people will gravitate towards, you know? Like, obviously, the most famous G-body being the Grand National, but the Cutlasses, the regular Regals, the Grand Prix, all that different stuff, can actually do pretty well on YouTube. You just gotta hit the right stride of audience, whatever else, and hit the algorithm just right, but you can do it. Yeah, and that's true too. Like, gotta remember, if you go back to my first videos on the channel, like, my first videos were literally me in my car talking, and I didn't realize that, because I did everything with my phone, right? And longest time, I did not have anything to mount my phone on in the car. I finally invested in a little dash thing, but my first videos as well, I didn't have my phone landscape. I had it portrait, so even that made a big difference in the quality of my videos. And the more I did stuff, the more I realized, you know, where I can go. And, like, yeah, and if you've looked at majority of my videos, a lot of my videos are one take, and I typically don't do a lot of pauses in the videos, unless it happens to be a longer sort of thing that I'm doing, and, you know, where I don't want it to be, you know, a 3-hour video, because I couldn't imagine how long that would take me to upload. It'd probably take me like 2 days to upload a video that long, right? So, yeah. Like, there are certain things that you just learn, right? And, yeah, that, like, he said it best. Just pick up a camera and start doing it. And the more you do it, the more you learn, and the more you'll realize, okay, what can I do differently here? You know, what can I have to do? And as well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would like it just because of where I've gone with the channel. Like, there are some things where editing it down is better, but yeah, see, like, here's the thing. My videos not being edited is definitely a downfall of my videos 100%, and I know that. If I edited the videos, oddly enough, I might actually get more viewership and people being able to, like, because the average viewer time on my channel isn't long. Depending on the video, I've got, you know, about a 3-minute window in the video, and that's why a lot of the times in my newer videos that I've noticed with my analytics, that I do not... I used to talk for, like, the first 5 minutes of the video and then go show you what I was going to do. Now I talk for, like, a minute or two and then go show. So... True. That is true. But actually, I will say, one other thing with doing videos on YouTube and everything, well, there is, so, Power Director, actually, it's only paid if you don't want their watermark on it, and if you want all of their features, and if you want to upload in 1080. Because some of my stuff that I edited in the past, I did not pay for it. It was in 720, and it said, you know, Power Director in the corner. Other than that, and there's some features that you don't get access to. But, yeah. And now, one other thing I will say is, do not get discouraged if a video doesn't do very well. You know, like, if you spend so much time on a video and it just flops, just move on to the next one. Don't even worry about it. Because, and that's one of the reasons why I put out so much content. Like, I've eclipsed over 620 videos, I think, so far. And that's one of the reasons why I've been so successful. You know, I was pumping out videos every, like, 2 days. For over a year that I did that. Excluding through the winter where it was a little harder to do videos, but I was trying my best, right? To pump out a video every 2 days. And, you know, you don't have to do that. But, yeah. And that's true, too. Like, I've had videos where I posted, and they did nothing. I got, like, 100, maybe 200 views, and it just flatlines. And then, a few months later, I look, and, hey, look at that. It's going up, going up, going up, going up, going up. Like, one of the best examples for that, actually, was the video I did on the Ford F1. Because in the first week or so, it only got, like, I think it was like 200 or 300 views. I'm like, okay, it's not really doing that great. Whatever else, no big deal, right? And I moved on. Then I noticed in my analytics for, hey, top videos in the past, you know, week or whatever, that video kept getting a lot more views. And that video, I think, has eclipsed 5,000 views now. So, like, I know it's over 4,000, but I think it may have finally eclipsed 5,000 views. And it's like, holy crap. Now, there's not too many videos on original 51 Ford F1 pickups. This is true. But still surprised me. And yeah, like in that truck, oddly enough, I know the owner of it. You know, he lives here in town, and it's actually getting I think it's getting a 302 swap. So, you know, which I understand why he's making it a hot rod, but man, that was such a beautiful car, beautiful truck, and with a nice running flathead and everything. I understand why he's doing it, but like, man, that was a nice truck. But it's okay. I like, you know, having more power or whatever else. And what's interesting is I will do another video on that truck when it has the 302 finally fully installed and everything. So, and we'll see which of the videos does better. I was thinking suspicion the original one will do better, but we'll see. You know, and like there's other stuff that I have planned too, but that's true. Like that is definitely true. Like if because I know he liked the truck and whatever, but yeah, he just didn't find it had enough power. It's no different than the guy that with his Mustang that he had the inline six and he spent so much money on it and whatever else, and he just ended up saying, "Screw it, I'm gonna put a V8 in the car," and that's what he did. So, it's no different than that, right? Because he found that it did not have enough acceleration for like traffic and stuff like that, which depending on your you do have to think ahead when you're gonna accelerate in those cars 100%, but you know it's fine. Like I like to be fast, but I like to be slow too. Just depends. And well actually because now Aaron did mention that. Where are you actually from, Aaron? Like, are you in Calgary? You in Edmonton? Like, although saying that you saw a Cadillac in Lethbridge, I assume maybe you're closer to there? You're in Calgary, okay. Cool. Yeah, because, I mean, the Cutlass would be kind of cool to film. I'm not going to lie. Like, the Lexus SUV and the Mazda 3 don't really... They're not my demographic on my channel. You know? I'm sure they're great vehicles and everything, but they just don't... They don't really do much for me. And I like a Mazda 3, don't get me wrong, but I have no desire to really drive one unless it was like a Speed 3. So, but that Cutlass, I would definitely love to come check that out and do a video on that. Because that'd be cool, because I've never, actually come to think of it, I've never done a video on a G-Body. Which is interesting, because G-Bodies are very, very popular, and I've done the opposite and just went Fox Body instead. So, I'd be interested to see because there is a different demographic for that. I mean, you had a Mazda 3 on your channel. I can't see you owning a Lexus SUV unless it was really cheap and you were just flipping it, but I don't even think you would film it. You would just buy it and sell it without doing a video on it. Oh, they definitely are. And G-Bodies have been very, very popular for a long time. Although what's interesting about the G-Bodies is other than the Regal and the Grand National, they really haven't gone up in value. Which is surprising, because you can still buy a Cutlass for like $1,500. You know? It is interesting. Yeah, see, and actually, for contrast, it's kind of interesting. Like, I'm part of Fox Body groups that have, like, over 200,000 people in them. And I found, because, like, the one thing is, when I do specific videos on vehicles, I will actually join as many groups as I can, so that I can actually, because I promote just about every single video I put out. There's some that I don't, and, like, lately I haven't really been promoting them as well, but oddly enough, some of the videos lately haven't needed the promotion. They've been hitting the YouTube algorithm quite well. So that's been nice, because I worked my ass off to get my videos to actually get views. So, yeah. Like, that's the best thing you can do. And especially on Facebook, because it's free. You don't have to pay for it. Unless if you, of course, do the sponsored content, whatever else. Then you have to pay for it. But you join groups, you post about your vehicle, and you share the videos about it, you know, it can go very well. It definitely is. You know, I spend a good 2 hours, well, actually, more like an hour and a half on promoting my videos. 100%, every single time I put one out. Except for a little lately, I haven't been doing near as much of that. But, because I haven't had to. There are videos that haven't been doing quite as well, like, my comparison video between the Capri and the Mustang hasn't really touched its stride very well. My last video that I put out hasn't really done that well. It's just over 300 views, but I only put that out today, so it could get better. Like, I changed the title a little bit to see if it would entice people. Instead of adding that's an inline six, I just add to say it's a Fox body. So, true. That's definitely true. Now, there are people that put a ton of time into it and their channels don't go anywhere. But a lot of them, do. It's interesting, actually, because with Teen Mechanic there, his channel, when he met me, his channel got a boost over time with me promoting his channel a little bit. Because whenever he put out videos on the Monaco that I sold him, I shared it a little bit. I didn't post it on Facebook very much, but I posted it everywhere else. Just on my YouTube, talked about it on Instagram, and on my Facebook page itself. And then he got shouted out by... you got shouted out by... I can't remember who it was. And then that propelled you in, a couple of days where you got, 300, 200, 300 subscribers, immediately. Which was cool. That's who it was. And you're very welcome, people that, I like whatever else, I'll help them out any way I can. But, yeah, so you got shout out by them, and then that kind of, you got a lot of subscribers right away, and then that kind of fizzled out, and you didn't really get too much more from that. But then, you posted that silly little video of the trade school thing that's your most viewed video on your channel, and that got you a lot. I know that. And I've never had a jump like that, period. Because I've never been shouted out by a big channel. Exactly, right? And because that video has over 100,000 views, which, okay, for me, it's I'm happy for you, whatever else, but it pisses me off because none of my videos will do that. I wish I could get a video to do that. My God, it'd be great. I could actually make a decent amount of money out of one video instead of making $5 here, $10 here. Make $100, $200 off a video. That'd be cool. But it doesn't happen. But yeah, and the day it happens where I have a video just explode will be fantastic. I wouldn't say that you cheated per se, but you got people that helped you out, and so your last video, you just had the algorithm right, and it just exploded. So that's not really cheating, honestly. And being shouted out by other channels, that's not cheating either. And it's interesting because when I shouted you out, I don't think I had... Did I have no. I didn't have 1,000 subscribers when I shouted you out. I think it was 800 or something like that. I finally got to 1,000 a couple months later. And that's the one thing for a long time, I had... Yeah, I think you're right. It was about 700. And 7 or 8, somewhere in there. I think you are correct on that. And now, anything at World of Wheels, I've never even been to World of Wheels. I've never brought my cars or anything like that. When I'm done the build on my 81 Mustang, that might be a show I put it in. But... See, no, what I need to do, there is, and it is god-awful, but it's great. There is an 80s Firebird that somebody put a kit on it to make it look like a Testarossa. It is hilarious, and it's awful. I want that just for YouTube. That's true. That's definitely true. See, and that's the one thing with World of Wheels. Because there are generic cars that people bring that nobody cares about. That is 100% a thing with World of Wheels. It's so weird compared to a lot of top-end things. You can put any car you want in there. You just have to pay the entry fee, which is $100 or something like that. But, I would do that. On my 81. Even as it sits, I would do that. There were a lot of people that kind of scoff at the car, but then a lot of people kind of see it and whatever else, and kind of understand the vibe, you know? And because that's the one thing with that car. And I do show it, but I understand when it doesn't get the attention. My convertible gets way more attention than that car because it's just condition, right? Because people look at condition more than anything. Even though the funniest thing about it is that um, the uh, the convertible actually is a rustier car and it's in worse shape to a certain degree. There you go. Yeah, see, exactly. Yeah, fourth gen Novas would probably do well. Okay, I thought I saw. Oh, okay. Weird. I saw lights, but I thought they pulled in front of my house. I'm like, huh? But no, they drove by. So I'm like, no, my dad's not coming home until tomorrow. So that's what confused me. Because yeah, I'm in a spot currently because my car's parked in the driveway. Hey, I finally have a live stream that's actually doing well. So you know what? I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep this going for as long as I can. Because lately my live streams have done nothing. They've sucked. I've lasted like 20 or 30 minutes because there's not much to talk about. Now I have stuff to talk about. It's nice. I don't have that many adoring fans. I have some, I will admit, but, you know, not a big amount. Although it is nice with my channel lately because there was a bit where I was in a content drought, and also, in contrast, my subscriber count was not doing very well, like the big gains that I usually get. You know, because like, I think it was last month where I only had like 14 subscribers actually subscribe to me in the past 28 days. I'm like, okay, I need to see what I can do here. And then the last month, I've had 98. Okay, I did hear something close. What was that? What? What is going on out there? What is going on outside? Oh, my dad is actually home. So actually, I will end this here. Sorry, guys. Now that my dad's home, I'll end the live stream. So thank you all for watching, and I'll catch